I have some keys to success, Brad. You
Oh,
ready?
yeah. The keys to success. Yes.
Yeah.
A little callback from Cigs inside.
Yeah. Number one, dominate the line of scrimmage, obviously. Part of the reason why I wore my Tyson Lawton shirt for this show specifically is because last year a lot of people complained about the opening game. Part of the biggest issue was that a bunch of people left at halftime. People are, oh, they didn't blow out FIU. They ran for 230 something yards. Like, they dominated the line of scrimmage in that game on both sides of the ball. It was very apparent what this football team was going to do to opposing football teams from the jump. They were physical, they were mean, they were nasty. They dominated both sides of the line. I need to see that same thing. I want to see from the jump how aggressive this team is going to be on both sides of the line, and don't let Fernando Mendoza get touched.
Yeah. I know I need a sack from Mikhail Kamara if he's going to be on track to break the record this year. Need that from him. Expecting, honestly, I would love 2. And yeah, 6 team sacks. I think that'd be a good number to shoot for this group. They do have a very, decent line. They even brought in this Ryan Joyce guy from Fordham, 46 career starts, old man. They brought him as their center. Like they're a really good group, but like good first game for our D line. And then obviously we're gonna flip sides. I love our O line to kind of pummel them and see what we can do on the offensive side of the ball and really dominate them. But like I'm expecting our defense to attack at the same time to where I could see us, dominating over time. They might start off a little hot, but I think we've seen it a lot last year where kind of by the time the third and fourth quarter roll around, Indiana is still going, still just as fast, physical, relentless as they were in the first quarter. And other teams just can't keep up for 60 minutes with us. And I think that's what's going to happen with this, at least in the trenches in this game. I see our O-line kind of dominating right off the bat, really establishing the run just to open it up for Mendoza to really attack those, that very inexperienced DB group that ODU has.
Leads me right into number 2. I got to see Mendoza's ability to execute the offense. Sig has been very tongue-in-cheek about what his skill set truly is. If you go back and watch some of his Cal highlights that have been percolating on the timeline, he's a lot more athletic than the people want to give him credit for. Obviously, we know the arm and the arm talent, the strength, the ball placement, all that good stuff. Rourke's superpower, like you said, was to take snap footballs and turn them into touchdowns. Like, how is Mendoza able to grasp this offense, and is he able to execute in a way that makes us go, yeah, this is the guy that could be potentially picked in the top 20 of this year's draft? Or does it reset our expectations for him? I'm not saying one or either way. I'm expecting him to come out and have a really good game, kind of stake his claim to what could be a really exciting Heisman race this season. And I think he's going to be a big part of a very high-powered Indiana offense. I just need to see it. And so that's like his ability to execute when the bullets are flying. What do you got?
Yeah, we could have scrapped everything I even said about this game so far. It really just comes down to, for me, going into this year is like the one thing I want to see is Fernando Mendoza play football and see where he's at against a decent Old Dominion, because this is going to give us the best idea before Illinois, like what he's going to look like. Obviously, would love to see him throw for a 500 against Indiana State or whatever. That'd be good stat padding for him. But this is going to be the best defense he sees up until that huge Big Ten opener, and kind of seeing how he performs up until then, allowing him to, clean up the rest over the next 2 weeks after that is what's going to set him up for success. And yeah, all I want to see is Fernando Mendoza play football, and then I'm hitting ARC afterwards.
Yeah, really busy. I really wish I was able to be in Bloomington this weekend, but a nice consolation for me is I was basically gift wrapped an ability to go to Darlington this weekend for the races. So I'll be watching in a crowd, but very, very excited for this weekend. If you're within arm's length of Bloomington and you can get there for the opener, absolutely go watch this football team play, because Brad's right. This team's going to give them the biggest challenge of the non-con. And this is a really good opportunity to see what these guys look like when they're put under stress. The third key for me, we alluded to the Lewis Moore situation earlier. We'll get a conclusion to this one probably by mid to late day tomorrow. I'm sure Michael Nizolik will be all over giving us updates for this one. Who's going to line up at free safety? Who's going to line up at rover? Obviously, if Indiana had its way, it's going to be Boykin at the Rover, Lewis Moore at free safety. I think some of the iterations we've been seeing in practice have been, Baldwin playing the Rover spot, Boykin playing the free safety spot would be my best guess as to how they've been covering it, with Lewis Moore potentially not playing. I've been a very vocal Byron Baldwin supporter since the second he decided to commit to Indiana the first time. I'd be really excited to see what this kid's got stepping on the field game one as a starter. Obviously, Curt Cignetti likes to see his freshmen earn playing time, but go back and look at somebody like D'Angelo Pons, who wasn't playing that first game at JMU, and by week 3, week 4 was a full-blown starter and was a freshman All-American. So that kind of leads me into another key, and that wasn't my next key, but how many freshmen are going to play? Because like you said, this is going to be our tougher non-conference game. This isn't going to be the one where like you empty the bench. And so who are the guys they trust early? Like we saw Mario Landino get playing time last year. Elijah Hardy was somebody who was working his way into the lineup. Jalen Hollywood Bell is a name we've heard mentioned. Obviously, Byron Baldwin Jr., we're talking about a fringe starter. Do some of the guys in the defensive line rotate in? I'm not sure. Do we see some of the younger linebackers? How many of the freshman wide receivers do we see? Do we see Sean Cuono potentially in this game? I'm not sure. So I've got my eye on the Rover spot, the free safety spot, and then obviously how many of the freshmen they trust early on.
Yeah, I would like to see which freshmen get meaningful playing time. Hopefully, in an ideal world, we're able to throw all the freshmen in there at some point, all the scholarship guys. Hopefully, we're blowing them out by 15. We're able to kind of just throw everyone in there because everyone gets those 3 free games, so best to use it with the 3 cupcakes. And because it's very unlikely that the true freshmen are going to play in conference play, so might as well get their first taste of college ball now as opposed to next year. So hopefully that's the case in this game. I think it could be very likely that that's the case. And some more roster iterations, like, do we know the status of Bray? Obviously, I mentioned, like, regardless, I think the O-line's going to have their way, right? But, like, is Bray Lynch healthy? Is he going to be starting at that right guard, or are they going to go Mikowski at right guard, Benson at right tackle? Is that going to be flipped? We're only really going off clips we see in practice, which I imagine, they're probably playing Mikowski and Benson in both spots on the right side with Bray Lynch being out. So just trying to figure out what the best combination is there. Really curious to see kind of what the O-line looks going into it. Obviously, with Bray Lynch back, one of those guys will be left hanging in terms of who's getting that right tackle spot, which will be curious to see as the season goes on. But yeah, do we know the Bray Lynch status?
Well, that brought me to my next key, is who starts across the offensive line. I think if you asked me before the fall camp started, not knowing the full status of Drew Evans, obviously in that moment, not knowing what the injury to Bray Lynch was, or I don't even believe he was injured at that point. But at this point, you asked me what the offensive line is going to look like, and I believe the biggest question mark is still right tackle. And I thought Mikowski had the lead in heading into the fall. The clips make it seem like maybe Benson might be gaining there, and that's why Mikowski maybe kicked into to guard. I'm not entirely sure. It is nice to have Bray Lynch back. He did have a boot on in that home field apparel, like, launching of their storefront, which I thought was interesting. They threw him out there with the boot. But yeah, is it Lynch at right guard, Benson at right tackle, which is kind of what my like head or gut is telling me based on the clips we were seeing. Are they going to kick Mikowski back out there? I didn't, from a confidence perspective and from we need to be humming immediately type of standpoint, I didn't love the fact that he still felt a little bit uncomfortable on the right side of the offensive line. I think that's almost why I lean Benson, just because he's more comfortable at right tackle, having somebody with left tackle experience who can come in and play right tackle, potentially play guard as that 5th offensive lineman. And then you have somebody like, or 6th offensive lineman, sorry. And then you have Adamola Ajani, who I thought was in pretty good position to potentially play a guard spot. Looks like he's probably the 3rd or 4th or second or third
ready.
option.
I've seen enough pictures of Ajani to know
he's ready, but
to go.
It looks like tackle
10.
is the spot up for grabs. It doesn't look like guard's the spot up for grabs, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, I think it's
looking forward to
I think Johnny's that first guard off the bench. Maybe they plug in a Mikowski / Benson, whoever's not playing tackle at that point. On my list, I still had Mikowski because he was leading going after spring. That could change. I still have the double errors next to him, so Yeah, I think that's one of the bigger question marks going into is that was the one real true position battle going into camp. So just kind of seeing how that all worked out, which, the consensus is no matter what it is, I think we're all cool with it and we're all excited regardless. I don't think we have any, red flags. Benson didn't have the best year at right guard, which is probably why he's getting a lot of right tackle looks. That probably just suits him better. He plays like a Jeremy Parnell. I think I've told you this off screen one time. If you guys don't remember, Jeremy Parnell was that right tackle on that really good Cowboys O-line that when Zeke Elliott kind of came on the scene and ended up getting a big contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And yeah, they play very similar just in the sense that they're very like run stuffers and they're very good in the run game, but maybe, not elite at pass blocking, but we'll see what his development looks like under Bostad. And yeah, I'm excited to see how that pans out.
And the last thing I'm kind of looking at, Brad, I need to see the defensive line rotation. Is Kamara the full-time stud? Do we see a little bit of Indiana? I don't want to say mimicking the 3-3 front that ODU is going to throw at them, but where Kamara is maybe the down defensive end, the position he played last year, and you have Wyatt as the stand-up, almost like flex linebacker in that role where they're a little bit bigger across the front. I'm intrigued because they have a lot more versatility on defense with or without Lewis Moore, especially in the back end, but even on the defensive line with the depth they have. And so does somebody like Daniel Ndukwe push for snaps? Does somebody like a DePepe brother push for snaps? Is one of those freshmen that maybe we're not talking about enough, pushing the front end of the rotation? How good are Tucker and Wheeler and Ratcliffe and the guys in the interior? What does Kamara look like transitioning to full-time, or if he's going full-time to stud, what does he look like standing up versus having his hand in the ground? And are we going to keep these guys fresh, or is it going to be the best guys play the majority of the snaps? I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. I have full trust and faith in this staff. They have a lot of options, and it's going to be really cool to see how they plug and play these guys, especially early. And it'll be interesting to see based on game flow, how they end up rotating guys in and out and who they end up trusting in critical downs.
Yeah, I'm excited to see as obviously on the field kind of what it looks like, and then also kind of getting the official numbers after the first game, kind of seeing what that snap count looks like. So that's probably going to be this game as opposed to the other games, probably going to be the most accurate of it, at least in terms of what we could expect going into Illinois. So yeah, just getting those numbers, excited to kind of see it on film. And man, I'm just pumped to just finally get some football on it with our Hoosiers. We've been doing this show for so long now, and I'm just ready to roll.
I could not have said it better myself. And it's part of the reason why I just don't have the energy to talk about the grifting or any of that. None of this matters now. None of it matters. Pads are going to hit pads. Indiana's going to snap the football. They're going to say hike, and it's going to go live. And we're just going to get to see these guys execute against another jersey, and it's going to be real. And it's exciting because we understand what we're looking at here in Bloomington. And a lot of people are building their opinions based off the perceived brand of Indiana football, and they're making the mistake of not understanding who Curt Cignetti is and what this staff is as a football program. And a lot of people are going to look really stupid, and I'm very, very excited for that. Brad, I'm not going to let us off the hook without giving a score prediction.
Always score prediction. 52-17 Hoosiers.
I hate when we do this because I like to be in the 50s too. I think they're going to make a statement. I don't even think they score 2 touchdowns. I would be a little bit shocked.
Yeah, I know. I always disrespect Haynes in my score predictions. Then I always have to apologize in the game recap. I wanted 3 picks. They got me 3 picks. And then it's like, they don't get enough. I think I was going to Michigan State. I was like, they don't get enough picks. And then Amari Farrell gets 2 of them. I'm just like, all right.
I think Indiana's going to make a statement. I really think it's going to be, it might get ugly. And I think it's going to be 50-6. I don't even want to say 7. I think 50-6.
50-6?
Yeah.
50. How do you get to 50? How many touchdowns?
I have no idea.
7 touchdowns, but Sig went for 2 on one of them.
Maybe they go for 2 early. I have no idea. I just
Huh.
it I
I think they're gonna get a touchdown. I think this Colton Joseph kid's gonna at least get one drive down there, if not two. Because I'm kind of going off how they played South Carolina last year, and obviously I think we're a lot better than South Carolina was last year. But in the sense that I think we're gonna score a lot more than 23 points against Old Dominion. So
it's hard for me to look at Old Dominion and say they're better than a team like Maryland, right? Or they're better than a team like Northwestern, or they're better than a team like Michigan State. And I know you can't do football math like that, but I look at the athletes that are on this Indiana defense and the chip they're going to play with and the speed they're going to play with and the speed they added. I think if they gave up 2 touchdowns in this game, they'd be like, if you got a very candid Bryant Haynes, he would be upset, like very upset. I
yeah,
think
I'd
if
feel really bad for Indiana State the following week. We
Yeah,
have-
I and this
I don't
isn't
even
an
know who we have
indictment of
next week. Doesn't even
ODU, and
matter.
I think ODU is actually gonna have a solid year and be a good program, but I think this Indiana team is something different, and I can't look at the talent they're bringing back on every level of the entire team. Fat Boy says 35-17 backups will play.
More points. More.
More
More.
points. More points.
More.
More points.
Mendoza.
Until proven otherwise, I'm going to be as cocky and brash as I possibly can. And I
Yep.
think this team is going to be really, really, really good. Is 50-6 aggressive? Probably.
Probably. Yeah.
Probably a little
52-17, I
aggressive.
feel like is respectful to all
That's
parties.
aggressive too. You went in the 50s, I went in the 50s. I felt like we had to go there. All right. You want to talk about a couple of the other games on the slate this week, Brad, before we get out of here? Or do you have a closing thought on Indiana ODU?
No, I just really want to see Fernando Mendoza. I think that's like the biggest thing of anything we've talked about. I would like to see a couple picks, just like, turnovers. I want to see us, get a hot start in terms of taking the ball away. I think that's something that's really important. Something that we did really well last year was the turnover margin. I think that's a big reason why people are projecting a fall off because, it's hard to carry that over year. So to see us get ahead of it and, and show that ability to turn the ball, to turn people over, I think will be a good sign. And obviously want to see kind of obviously the offense as a whole, but mostly kind of that pass game with Mendoza. I'm very confident we'll be able to run the ball very well this year. Really just want to see just how good Mendoza is because like I've been saying all offseason, he is the catalyst to how many wins we get. I think we're going to get to 8, right? Like how much further than 8 do we get? And that really comes down to how good Fernando Mendoza is. So we'll see. We'll see. That's what I'm most looking forward to, and as well as probably everyone watching this show.
Yeah, I full blown agree. And I think if you look at a lot of the goals of the people on this team, a lot of the individual accolades these guys want, like it's going to take a lot of big games and it's going to take a lot of big games early. Like Elijah Surratt wants 1,000 receiving yards. Like he's going to have to go for 100 yards in this game, at least 100, 150, like have a big game. Like if Fernando Mendoza wants to push for the Heisman and be in contention for maybe the number 1 quarterback taken next year's draft, he's going to have a big game. Like he's going to have to put up video game-esque numbers and dominate this level of competition. If he's going to be that type of guy, I like Indiana to score a lot of points. And I think they need to make a statement early and they need to prove that teams like this maybe aren't on their level. And it quells a lot of the maybe South Carolina should have made it last year. And I know you can't do like apples to apples or whatever. You can't compare football games like that, but it would be a nice little statement for Indiana to make to put a little distance between the perceived how good they are versus where people perceive South Carolina to be. So
100%. Yeah, I think that's a great point.
I'm so excited to watch this team play football. I cannot.
Yeah, I'm done talking about it. I want to see. I want to talk about actual games. And
I'm so tired of talking
glad we
about
did these
hypotheticals.
previews, and